And we also spoke for the first time in London, after a period of state management and local government, about the role of civil society. It was very new to us. And interesting that perhaps each generation has to invent its knowledge of it for itself. But in order to get that programme together, we needed to enlist power, we needed project champions, we needed establishment endorsement. So we connected with a civic organisation called Common Purpose, which is a kind of cross-sector leadership programme. Very, very interesting. We connected to business. We didn't ask them for money, but we asked for the endorsement of the Financial Times. Very, very interesting company, and I'd heard that they were really concerned about the issues that we were talking about. And then the public sector actually then resourced us to do this programme, simply because the Financial Times were involved. So again, playing the private sector off against the public. And then the other people were involved. So what did we learn? That there's enormous interdependency between the sectors, but there is a need for a common space, a space of dialogue between the sectors in which to imagine responses to issues of common concern. And we came to call that space a cultural commons. And in fact, that concept is also useful when one is thinking of the creation of dialogue between cultures as well. That it's this space that you facilitate, and the arts are good at creating that space. And maybe that's our role in adaptation and survival, to constantly create this cultural commons. We also learnt again that a dialogue can't happen in the abstract. It has to be around a shared project, a shared meeting, a shared focus on common concern. But it does involve somebody taking a lead without formal authority. So we had to have courage, and collectively we were good as a team at having courage to step out and do these things. I'm just going to move this microphone because I realised it's in your line. That's not very good. So in '95, so we were doing commercial sponsorship, we did this civic dialogue, and then two things came together at once that really made us re-examine our relations with business. And there was a personal dimension to this, in that I'd been doing the job for 10 years and I was a little bit weary. And also the commercial values were becoming more and more in the ascendant. And I felt that there must be another form of dialogue with business. But the thing that precipitated it was Baring's Bank crashed, and they'd been our most loyal supporter for many years. And actually, as a not very commercial sponsor, it was more in the style of old-style philanthropy. So not very arduous commercial demands. And but it left us very exposed. And another sponsor pulled out of sponsoring our education programme. And it was a real, there was a crisis. In thinking, this isn't quite working for us at the phase that we were at. So a feeling that logos were reaching their limits, particularly in relation to our work with young people. That actually, just the values weren't right when it related to the young people. To put very firm commercial branding, because the logical conclusion is that you have a branding on the children's forehead kind of thing. So these were the issues that we were dealing with, which we felt really were at the most urgent issues that we as a society had to confront. And we just felt that this commercial relationship wasn't quite working. So we set out to learn what business might have to learn from the arts, and how we could find an alternative to the commercial relationship, or one that could run alongside it. Because still there were some dimensions of the LIFT programme which we could, quite happily get commercial sponsorship for. But I personally started to concentrate on this research. So again, we were starting by not knowing, because everybody we were talking to was talking in commercial terms. The only form of relationship that existed with business was a commercial relationship. So the language was all of marketing and so on. So, but the question swirling around in my head was, what role does theatre have in the public realm? Why does business need theatre to survive? I mean, this is a crazy question at one level. Why is it important to foster creative skills and potential in all the population? And what's the traditional role of the arts in relation to business as a catalyst for reflection and critique, in this space of cultural commons? And in an increasingly privatized world, what's the role of the public realm? Because we were a public organization, a publicly funded organization. We could have delivered a consultancy, a creative consultancy to one business, for example, to earn some money, and many artists do. But that wasn't what we were interested in. We wanted to retain this interaction in the public realm. So once again, we looked for project champions, and the first person I listed was a guy called Brian Eno, who any of you who are fond of music may know the name of. And he's a great supporter of the arts, and he was very, 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 very interested in this question. And we then brought together some prominent business people, including the Financial Times and various other people who belonged to an organisation that specialised in scenario planning. So they plan and imagine the future so that organisations can think better how they might respond to future threats and challenges.